Welcome, friends. Today we've got another field trip, but we're not just going to some place. We're going to some place back in time, specifically to the 1920s and 30s, one of my favorite times in history. So please keep your eyes wide open, hold on, and watch as we go back in time to where we're going to visit an actual home from the 1920s and the 1930s. I think you'll find it a very big treat. I know I did. I hope you enjoy this, and if you like it, please like and subscribe.
Museum's Vagg House here in the center of Orleans County, located at routes 104 and 98. My name is Bill Lattin. I am the retired director of the Cobblestone Museum, retiring in actually 2010. But I sort of took the leadership role in the museum's acquiring this property and getting it suitable for visitors to view this, what we call the Vagg House, as an example of what a home would have been like in the, particularly the teens, 20s, and 30s. We're standing here in a kitchen which certainly represents the early 1930s in its decor and furnishings. The last owner of the house, Rene Shazel, died in 2019, and he was a collector of electrical appliances. And so, being one of the executors of his estate, we had an awful lot of things to dispose of. As a matter of fact, he had 39 washing machines. This is the only one left. All kinds of electrical appliances. So we kept enough things to show what a family would have had as far as electrical appliances. Rene used to say, as a collector of electrical appliances, it was advertised in the 1920s that electricity was the only servant you will ever need. In other words, by then you no longer needed a maid or a domestic or a servant girl to assist you, because you had an electric washing machine to do the laundry. And so as a result, we have all kinds of electrical appliances that make the use of electricity. Here's a hot plate. We notice the old-fashioned turn button switches on the hot plate. And to plug it in, here's an odd extension cord. You plug into the little dog, and of course then you had to walk over to the wall and plug it into the receptacle in the wall. A wonderful 1930s mixer. As a matter of fact, we have to go with the mixer, the manual.
Oh, that's cool.
Unusual color to the mixing bowls. And of course, this was easier than using this 1930s hand mixer.
I have one of those.
And of course, we know it's 1930s because of the green handle on it.
But they work like a charm.
Yes. Electricity was used for things that were just inconceivable in a way. Here's something that is kind of totally useless. It's
A sifter?
electric flour sifter. Now, you know, what's wrong with doing this? A squeeze handle, but they just went wild in using electricity for all kinds of things that you really didn't.
Because it was novel, it was something to do.
And a child's electric stove that could really plug in. You wouldn't think of giving a child an electric stove to play with, but there's an electric.
The original Easy Bake Oven.
The wood burning or coal burning kitchen range here was manufactured at Kalamazoo in 1934. Dates down there.
Kalamazoo, Michigan?
Yes.
I'm originally from Michigan.
Now, this is the stove that the Vaggs had. The Vaggs bought this property in 1909, and Mrs. Vagg died in 1975. Her husband died, Joe Vagg, the local blacksmith who worked out of the blacksmith shop next door. He died in the late 1950s. So the Vaggs actually had this stove, but they also had this gas stove. So the wood burning stove was used in the wintertime to cook on, but it made the kitchen too hot in the summer, so they had a gas stove, and gas was distributed down Ridge Road here in the late 1920s. So they had natural gas for the summer.
Wow.
Of course, refrigeration was important, and this monitor top refrigerator, I think, dates from 1930. And this is one of these examples where it's, look, Ma, no hands. Very convenient, because if you had your hands full with things that needed to go into the refrigerator, you could step on the foot pedal.
And that's the original Tupperware. That's the...
There you go. Glassware that would be from the same time frame.
Yeah.
Known as a monitor top refrigerator. We have some other electrical items here that show the unusual use of electricity. This is an iron for a tie, so you slipped it up into the tie so that you could iron the tie. It's something we wouldn't use today, but this was to put creases in your pants. Of course, now everybody wears blue jeans. You don't think about creases in your pants. But these were all things that the last owner had, and so many times the original information that went along with it. Here is a flat iron, and you see it's cordless. It heats up by the trivet once that's plugged in. Something from probably around 1930. But here's one more like from maybe around 1900. And we notice that that's smaller, and it has a porcelain plug, and the prongs on the plug are, as I would describe, horizontal rather than the standard vertical prongs that we have now. Now, in early wiring of homes, they didn't have outlets, but they had overhead fixtures. So you took out the light bulb and you screwed this adapter in, and this adapter was made during that transitional period from using horizontal plugs to vertical plugs, as we see in this porcelain adapter. The Public Service Commission eventually stepped in and said they have to be a standardized fit for everything.
I have in my house a lamp, in my laundry room. My house is from 1867, and in the side of the lamp, there's a plug. So you can turn on the lamp and you can turn on the plug.
We have one.
Yeah, exactly.
As an example. So this was a way to light works, too bright to look at, but you could plug in to this very odd, peculiar thing. Now I mentioned the Vaggs who lived here from 1909 to into the 70s. This is Nellie and Joseph Vagg. This picture was taken in 1947 at their 45th wedding anniversary. And I'll tell you more about them when we get into the other part of the house.
Now, what was this Westinghouse?
Oh yes, this also belonged to the Vaggs because the last owner liked the house because he said it was untouched.
Yeah.
And so he acquired the two kitchen stoves and this mangle.
Oh, okay.
So this is for ironing.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned this.
All right. These were very dangerous.
So this is something that the Vaggs actually, Nellie Vagg and their daughter, Melva Warner, inherited the house. And so this was something that both Nellie and Melva would have used here in the kitchen. We have some other electrical things. I think that the last owner, as I said, had all these washing machines. He had, I think, 7 monitor top refrigerators, and there might have been close to 100 toasters. We kept some. Here's one that will take one slice at a time. Another early toaster here, which it was a little more typical of the early toasters. Spring-loaded.
Oh, wow.
So you could do 2 slices at the same time. We have a couple of egg steamers.
Oh, wow.
This one and another one here. This little grill would make great toasted cheese sandwiches.
Yeah.
And here's a vaporizer. So if I remember when being born in 1944, if I had a cold or something, my mother would have a vaporizer in the bedroom that sent off steam, and you put the ingredients you were steaming in this little pocket here from maybe Vicks.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a coffee urn in the back?
Yes, that's for coffee. Here in the cupboard is what was known as modern tone glassware. The last owner had collected this stuff. This was, I think, first produced in the early 1930s. And cobalt blue. And it's sort of really in the Art Deco style with the design of it. This would be a cream soup dish. But we saved this from his collection so that the house can be used for small receptions.
Yeah.
And we can set up the dining room table. Here was an event that was done with the glassware here in the house at the dining room table.
Very pretty.
Here's a clever step stool for the kitchen, a chair that turns into a ladder.
Oh, that's cool.
So all in all, the kitchen represents a typical kitchen from the 1930s. The kitchen table, chairs, Chinese checkers was popular, and throughout the house we have ashtrays. Here's one in modern
Which kids nowadays have no clue what
no
that is.
clue to what this is. And a fake fruit bowl, which might have been acquired at a carnival from the 1930s. Plaster.
And then they went to plastic in the 60s and 70s.
Of course, Lindbergh in the late 20s and early 30s was like a national hero. So here's a souvenir plate from Lindbergh's time that you know, people really saw him as a great national hero at the time. So throughout the house, and especially here in the kitchen, there's all kinds of things from the 30s. There's a 1930s drippolator.
There.
There's the drippolator, and people really don't know how drippolators work anymore.
Yeah.
But a great piece. What you would do is put the coffee grounds in here, and then on the stove you heated up boiling water. And you poured the boiling water into this container, and that dripped through down into the coffee pot. When it was through dripping, you removed this portion, took it to the sink, covered that up, and then you could plug in the cord to keep the coffee warm.
Oh, wow.
Drippolator coffee is a wonderful way to brew coffee.
Yeah.
Another coffee pot that plugs in, coffee urn as well, all these from the 1930s.
Wow. Very cool. I guess that's Magella ware.
This is Roseville pottery.
Okay.
I think the beadwork in the doorway, the glass beads, were probably made homemade, probably the only one like it in the world. It looks sort of Art Deco in style, the way the beads are strung.
Yeah.
Now, there would be things like this picture that are older than the 20s. This picture would have been taken in the 1880s, and they are two local girls that are in the photograph. So somebody living in a house like this in the 20s would have been born maybe in the 1880s, and they would have kept a picture of themselves
Yeah.
and hung it, you know, in their home. This house represents an average family, and it certainly doesn't represent what necessarily an architect or an interior decorator would have done.
No, no.
There are ideas here that would have come from home magazines of the time, but this is an average family would have had.
Yeah.
There's nothing, there are no extraordinary, priceless antiques here that you would find in a high-class home. Let me show you another example here of something from the late 20s. It's this waffle iron. And
The light
you had
bulb.
to screw out one of the light bulbs and then screw this in, the adapter in. And again, it was made at a time when it was both plugs were being produced, vertical and horizontal plugs. There is no off-on switch on the waffle iron. The off-on switch was the turn button on the light socket.
Pretty lights too.
And you notice our telephone over here,
Yeah.
a candlestick phone.
Remade popular in the 70s. My mother had
Yeah.
one.
Of course, no dial, no push buttons,
Oh, really? I didn't notice that.
no dial, no push buttons.
So you'd be calling the operator.
So you picked up the receiver, and the operator came on and said, "Number, please." So.
And did they have did they have phone numbers, or did they do that
Well, that
like
would have been-
Albion blah blah blah?
It would have been maybe a combination of letters and phone numbers, depending.
Okay.
The operator would have said, "Number, please," and you would have given the operator the number you wanted to call. Of course,
Yeah.
there were phone directories issued annually.
Something that's gone past
There would
even in
have
my time
And
now.
there would have been party lines. So there could have been maybe 5 or 6 people on a party telephone line. So when the neighbor's phone rang, you heard the neighbors getting a call because your phone rang too. So you had to listen very carefully. Now the rings might be three long rings and then 2 short rings. So that would be, you know, number 32.
Yeah.
So if that was your number, you heard 3 long rings and 2 short rings, you knew to pick up your phone. But
Yeah.
if you heard 4 short rings and a long ring, that was the neighbors getting
Yeah.
the call. Also, don't answer your phone.
Yeah.
But nosy people
Yeah.
could carefully do this and listen in
Yeah.
to what was going on in the neighborhood. You had to cover up the mouthpiece so that you weren't making any noise. That's how gossip got
Yeah,
spread.
exactly. Heard it through the grapevine. That's
A
funny.
bust of Will Rogers there, who's a popular guy. Alice blue gown, this print here. That print was very popular in the 20s. Alice, this is Alice Roosevelt Longworth, the oldest daughter of Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh, okay.
And the portrait was done by an English painter who spent a great deal of time here in the United States, and he made portraits of people in usually very nice gowns. So this picture was known as Alice Blue Gown.
Huh.
Very
Teddy
popular in the
Roosevelt.
20s.
Flower basket. probably not even good. Oh, there we go. Huh. Women's temperance unit.
WCTU was the white ribbon. Well, I remember Nellie Vagg,
Yeah.
and she wore the white ribbon right into the 1970s. No form of drinking was allowed in this house.
Yeah.
She was, as I say, hard-nosed. This is a plate that was published by the Women's Christian Temperance Union, and it has vignettes of homes of noteworthy women who were WCTU members. I judge this plate might have been published around 1900, judging from the looks of it. And over here we do have a banner from the Gaines WCTU. I judge the banner might have been created late 1890s, early 20th century. On with our electrical stuff. Here is a vacuum cleaner that was manufactured, I think, in 1920. We did some research on it.
The airway.
The last owner had, I think, 60 vacuum cleaners. This is the only one left. We weren't a vacuum cleaner museum, so we kept one that was suitable. There were 3 house sales here to remove a good portion of his collection. And we see also
Another heater.
another heater.
Now, is that an old Victrola?
This is an Edison phonograph.
Okay.
So I can show you a little bit about this. The last patent date on this is 1913. This is a really unusual Edison machine. It plays cylinders. And the nice thing about this cabinet is it has drawers in it to store cylinders. Edison produced cylinders until 1929. He was also producing disc records, but this is what the cylinders look like. This cylinder has a patent date on it, 1927.
Okay, so is there like, how does that work? Is there a little,
Well,
like, indents or?
this is one of the things that's not electrical. And of course, phonographs were produced like this that were mechanical because people didn't generally have electricity. So in 1913, a lot of rural homes still did not have electricity. So we have to wind it up. And as you noticed, I slid the cylinder record onto the mandrel. Let's give it a slight push. The Edison machine turns on with a switch. And then you kind of have to line up. You can't see right where the needle drops, but you drop the needle down. And this is a guitar duet. I think it's called Hula Girl. It's Hawaiian style music, which was popular in the 20s.
That's cool. That is cool.
These are usually 4 minutes in length, these cylinders.
Now, is it a groove that it's playing in, or is?
Yes,
Okay,
it's
so like a
groove,
record
but
player.
it's all mechanical.
Okay.
So you notice the machine, the needle is moving along. If there was no record on it and I engaged the needle, it would still move.
Yeah.
it doesn't follow a spiral groove like
Okay.
flat records. This was all mechanical.
Okay. That is
And
cool.
of course, they covered up the horn. Now the horn is also moving very slightly. You may not be able to see that, but the horn does move
Huh.
because this is all a mechanical procedure.
Oh, that is cool.
Directors, but this motif of the house with a high-pitched roof and the cypress trees and the high chimneys and this sort of color scheme was a popular motif in the 20s. All of the furniture in here is from the 20s or maybe slightly before. The Morris chair, we think, might have been purchased new in the teens.
I love William Morris.
Painting on velvet.
Yeah. Oh, look at the door. I didn't even see the door. God, that's gorgeous.
In the corner, a print of Gainsborough's Blue Boy, so people had copies of famous paintings, very famous at that period of time. They wanted to show that they were cultured. Oh, and incidentally, the wallpaper in this room was put on in 1948 when the Vagg celebrated their 45th anniversary. They were going to have a reception, and they wanted their living room to look real nice for their friends and family who were coming in for a reception.
And you know what? You can't find these picture frames anymore.
It's a player piano, and the mechanism is being worked on. We hope to have it back this next week. Over the piano is a diorama of, I think they're snipes, stuffed birds, and they were done by the Grebe Studio in Buffalo, probably around 1920. Taxidermy was something that was popular over a number of decades. This would have been made to hang in somebody's living room.
My best girl and the glowworm.
We have a child's phonograph here, a most unusual child's, I almost call it a toy, but it was for children to play their own kiddie records. This is something that probably was owned by a well-to-do family, but it's not out of place here because, you know, grandparents might have given something like this to a grandchild. The upholstered furniture is from the mid-1920s. Excuse me. And you don't get any more than this candy box, so no noteworthy people or famous people were used to advertise and sell goods. This is Pola Negri, a famous movie actress.
Wife of Valentino.
1920s. Yes, Valentino period of time, yeah. Polish born, I believe, came to the United States as an immigrant. But it's just so 20s in its appearance. It just, you just know.
Yeah. Look at the old fan. Yeah, that doesn't look too dangerous, right?
Yeah,
You just
wait
stick your
for a
finger
little,
in there.
Kid to put their finger in there. Fringe lampshades were, of course, popular. at this period of time. And oh, notice the plaque. Parrots were another popular motif in the 1920s. This is a plaster cast. Would have been purchased, not a homemade thing.
That clock.
Sectional bookcases were popular. We sometimes refer to them now as barrister bookcases.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same sort of style as the piano, and would have been made probably around 1920.
Yeah, we have and the silhouettes. Those were big.
Oh yeah, this is this one in particular is obviously 20s.
Yeah.
And we have piano babies.
You know, and it's funny if you look at the coloring of the photographs, how
Yes,
different they are.
and
We have my.
Notice this person, I'm judging the pictures probably from around 1930, is wearing a fox fur around her neck.
Let me back that up. There we go.
Get
Yeah.
the reflection.
Yeah. No, I had zoomed in. It was zooming in too far.
My grandfather Wilson ran a fox farm in the 20s and 30s.
Oh yeah.
And raised silver foxes for furs, for their pelts.
Yeah.
And at one point in the 30s, he got a request from a furrier in New York City to send him just a perfect pelt for Marlene Dietrich.
Oh wow. Oh, that's funny.
Legend, whether it really happened or not, I don't know, but something. This photograph, I think, is really interesting, showing this probably mother and son from the 19.
Look at the knickerbockers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow. It's just funny though. You could look at the wedding picture.
Wedding picture as well from the same period of time.
Wow.
But this is what, this is how people lived average people lived in settings like this.
Player piano cabinet.
Music cabinet, from the music cabinet could possibly be from maybe the late 1890s. The girls' shoes here look fairly modern, but they're not, because they're had to have a button hook to connect the strap. So these are shoes from probably the late 20s.
Huh. Little frozen Charlotte doll.